Have you ever wondered how people living in a van survive winters? Especially frigid, harsh, and snowy winters? We must be crazy, right? I've heard other van lifers say it's not always easy, but it's doable. I'm gonna have to disagree with them on that. I think it is easy. Maybe not always convenient, but as long as you're prepared, living in a van during frigid, cold winters isn't really much different than living in a van in perfect weather. In this video, I want to share 5 tips for how I stay warm and comfortable during harsh winters in Northwest Wyoming. Plus 5 tips to keep your furry little sidekick warm and comfortable as well. Hit that subscribe button to follow along on our little adventures and share this video with someone who can use some winter van life tips. When I set out to build my van, I pictured the Instagram van life, right? Every place you wake up at was beautiful, the weather was always perfect, there was always something to do outside, all the things. But thankfully, as I was building mine, reality crept into my thought process and my build plan. If you're looking to get into van life and you live somewhere cold, or you want to travel somewhere frozen during the winter, hopefully these tips will help you prepare.
What's up, guys? My name is Tyler, and this is my adventure pup, Copper. We live full-time out of that beast. It's a 2012 Ford E350 with the Well-Tech Designs Baja Grocery Getter lift kit and an eternally almost finished camper conversion inside. We're based out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and yes, even during the frigid Subzero winters. It's our day off today, and it's like 20 degrees and snowing. We came up to the Grand Teton National Park to hang out for a little while and let Copper play. And let me tell you, this place is beautiful. Honestly, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find a place around here that's not beautiful. If you haven't been up here to Grand Teton or even Yellowstone, highly recommend it. Some of these tips are no-brainers for winter, like a heater. Some I learned by trial and error. I grew up in Southern California. I don't think I really even knew what snow was growing up. Then I moved to Colorado. I learned that winter meant cold. Not really ideal for flip-flops and board shorts. And now, being in Jackson Hole, Colorado winters are warm by comparison. Living full-time in my van during winter months, both in Colorado and now Wyoming, I faced challenges that have helped me learn the hard way. From getting stuck and having to dig out with my snow brush, my heater failing and having to troubleshoot it underneath the van during a blizzard up in the mountains of Colorado, to my feet basically going numb because my warm boots were just not warm enough for this extreme cold. It's getting cold, so let's jump in with tip number 5. So tip number 5 is recovery gear. Now this one I'm still working on, and I'm partially bringing it up to publicly shame myself into being more prepared with recovery gear. With my van being 2-wheel drive, and mostly knowing its limitations, really I just avoid places I might get stuck. Having a tow strap is sufficient for me. However, I really don't know where mine went. I think I lent it to someone and it just disappeared. During the winters out here, they plow the roads. They plow the truck yard too. So luckily, I haven't really found myself in a situation where I was stuck. One morning we woke up to about 24 inches of snow overnight. We left for work before they plowed the truck yard, and I instantly got stuck. That's when I had to dig out with my snow brush. There was so much snow, the van basically high-centered on all the snow I was pushing. But since then, I've added some recovery gear to my to-get list. Things like recovery boards, which now, thanks to Van Toys, I have some. Another tow strap, a shovel to dig snow, and tire chains. I think those are the bare necessities you can pretty much get out of any minor situation with. Just yesterday, I went to help Sebastian with a dead starter battery. We ended up bump starting his van again. I'm glad he was prepared with recovery gear, because I wasn't. Then for the big boy situations, my to-get list includes a winch, soft shackles, kinetic rope, snatch blocks. Those kinds of things are more future upgrades for me and not really a necessity. My van was a passenger van in its past life. I specifically wanted a passenger van for the huge windows all around. If we go camping somewhere awesome, I want to wake up and see the view. Because of those huge windows, I needed lots of window covers. I got lucky with the window covers for my van because my mom helped me make them. Okay, she made them. I just held up the paper to trace the templates out. They're magnetic, and they're great, obviously, for privacy, but also for light bleeding, both coming in and out, because there's blackout material on the outside of it. These are lifesavers in the winter too, because they're insulated. They stay warm to the touch inside, and if you put your hand behind them, you can really see the difference it makes between this and the window. It's pretty remarkable. If you don't have insulated window covers, just get some Reflectix. That'll be cheap, and it'll make a world of difference. I've also got an insulated cover for the roof vent too. It works great. Also magnetic. I don't always have it on because even on cold nights, it can get so hot in the van that I actually use the vent as a vent. So this doesn't stay on there very often. The next tip is appropriate clothing. I lived in Arizona for a stack of years, and people always asked, how do you deal with the heat? I'd always say you go from one air-conditioned box to the next. It's the exact opposite out here. You go from one heated box to the next. No big deal. But during those times you're outside for more than 30 seconds, walk into that next heated box, having appropriate clothing is a must. This one I learned the hard way out here in Jackson Hole. I thought I was prepared. Boots, jacket, gloves, nice base layer pants. Nope, I was wrong. What's billed as winter gear in California or Arizona just won't cut it for the extreme cold. My favorite are my boots. They're actually ice fishing boots. The reason I went with these is first because they are extremely warm, rated to -60 degrees. But even better, they have interchangeable soles. For other winter clothing, I went with heated everything I could. Heated jacket, got some heated socks, heated gloves, all of which were surprisingly affordable compared to like name brand winter gear. And in my opinion, it's better too. You're not paying for the name or the logo on it. That's just crazy to me. This heated puffer jacket was like 170 bucks. And it's heated. It heats in the chest, the back, the neck, and these little, well, they're covered now, the cuffs that go over your hands. It's awesome. Way better than, you know, a $300 North Face jacket that doesn't even have heat. The heated socks, these are like 40 bucks. Okay, that is a crap ton of money for socks, but they're heated. It's awesome. The gloves, these things are great. They were like 80 bucks. All well worth it, in my opinion. Snow pants are a great option too. They are super warm, and you can just throw them on over your normal pants when you need to, so you don't have to wash them as often as regular pants. Same goes for the socks too, by the way. Put them on over your regular socks, and you can wear them way more often without having to wash them all the time. A fleece net gaiter, a beanie, or a trapper hat, and you're set. I don't wear this very often because I can't hear anything when it's on. When I'm all bundled up, I can spend hours outside in the frigid cold. Copper loves to run around in the cold and in the snow too. The cold doesn't really seem to bother him much. When we do that, kind of like right now, my side doors are always open for him to jump inside, warm up. Usually he'll go in there for a couple minutes and he's ready to go out and play some more. He's out on the other side of the van right now. So rather than me jumping in and out of the van every time he wants to, I just bundle up and stay outside. That brings me to the next tip. Insulation. If you have any level of insulation, you'll be in better shape than zero insulation. The more panels of your van that you insulate, the warmer it's going to be. It wasn't until this past summer that I insulated the ceiling and the side and rear doors. What a difference. I used Thinsulate on the ceiling and wool insulation in the doors and the walls. The one part of my van that I didn't insulate is my floor. I didn't insulate that because, you know, being a low roof van, I didn't want to waste a single millimeter of height inside. I don't regret it at all. I ended up putting carpet on top of the hardwood floors for really two different reasons. One is because it will provide just enough insulation to keep it warm enough to not freeze anything or to be ultra cold. And two, it's way more comfy than just straight hardwood floors. Then of course, my windows are open in the snow, so it just gets covered. And that brings us to tip number one. The most obvious but most important thing for winter van life, a heater. If your van is insulated well enough, any heater is going to be just fine. Wood stove, propane, electric if you have that kind of power. I'm a sucker for diesel heaters. Pretty much everyone knows about diesel heaters in the van life world. They're awesome. They sip fuel, and once they're running, they use almost no power. I have a cheap Chinese heater that works absolutely amazing for me. I keep it in auto mode, set at 70 degrees. Van's always warm. I know people who run these cheap Chinese heaters off of portable power stations, something like a little Jackery. Something like that should get you through a cold night or two, no problem. Diesel heaters have clean air going in, clean air going out on the inside of your van. All of the combustion happens on the outside. So it's safe to leave on overnight. Mine literally stays on almost 24/7 all winter long. However, I did a little upgrade when I installed mine. I tossed the stock tank that it came with and got a 6-gallon like portable boat gas tank. With 6 gallons, temp at 70, I can easily do about 7 days between fill-ups. Obviously, depending on how often I keep my side doors open in the cold, like right now. It's 20 degrees. Heater's cranking away, copper's in there, nice and warm. The reason I did this is because I didn't want to mess around with things getting cold. I'd rather leave it running 24/7 and have to fill up the diesel tank every week or so than have a cold van, cold bed, cold pillow, cold batteries, and have to wait every time for it to warm up. But that's just me. The snow was coming down pretty good, so we retreated to the nice warm van. Now here's a little bonus tip. Entertainment. During harsh winters, you're going to inevitably be spending more time holed up in your van. To avoid cabin fever, van fever? To avoid van fever in winter, you've got to have some sort of entertainment. Whether it's like scrolling Instagram or TikTok on your phone until you fall asleep, binge watching stuff on Netflix, you might be a gamer, you got to have some sort of entertainment. I opted to go a little bit overboard, like usual. I went with a projector, Apple TV, we got a Dolby Atmos surround sound system too. It's like a little movie theater in here. I like it. Almost every night after work and after our usual routine of going to the dog park, playing around the truck yard, I fire up that old projector, Apple TV, and binge watch some Netflix or YouTube or something. We went through the tips to get you set up for winter, get your van set up for winter. Next step, before getting into any cold temps, is to set up your little adventure buddy for winter and cold temps. So tip number 5 is a blanket. A blanket just for the dog. Copper here, no matter how warm the van is, wants a little blanket. And I don't care what van you have or how well insulated it is, there's always going to be cold spots. Pets are going to move around as they sleep. If they have a little blanket just for them, they'll either stay with that or bury themselves in it if they move somewhere else and get cold. Copper sleeps with me in my bed, so it's rare that he moves to the floor, especially in the winter. But he has woken me up overnight a handful of times as he kind of digs himself back underneath his little blanket. Since we're holed up in the van, well, it's just, wow, it's really dumping snow. Let's move on to tip number 4, a lighted collar. If you're in a place that reaches sub-zero temps regularly in the winter, chances are it's going to get dark pretty early. A lighted collar is going to help you keep track of your little adventure buddy. If he or she is off-leash trained, even better. Copper is. He loves to explore, no matter how dark it gets. His lighted collar is a necessity after dark. His recall is spot on, but I like to make sure I can see him no matter where he ventures off to. Next up, tip number 3, a heavy coat. You've got a heavy coat for winter, right? So should your dog. If you're cold, they probably will be too. I guess this isn't always the case. I adopted Copper in Southern California. He was apparently a stray street dog in northern Mexico. He had never seen snow until we got here. As it turns out, he loves the cold and snow. But he has his coat just in case. Because he was a desert dog with short hair, I wanted to make sure, no matter what, that he'd be warm. I got him a heated coat before we headed up to Jackson Hole. Yeah, he's got a heated coat too. He's ripped it off a few times, and he saw how cold it would be without it. So he likes it. I don't always have it turned on, but it definitely keeps him warm. So next tip are booties. This is one complicated little setup. But despite the other tips, maybe your adventure buddy doesn't care about the cold that much. Maybe they thrive in it. Either way, their paws are subject to the cold no matter what. So be prepared to protect them. Booties are an awesome option if they stay on. Plus, it's hilarious to watch your dog or cat walk around in booties. I've had, I don't know how many different pairs of booties for Copper. He flips them off almost immediately. And if they don't flip off immediately, he'll be running around and they'll come off anyway and they get lost. I found these leg high ones that are like connected to this little harness that literally can't come off. I don't feel bad laughing at him when he's got these on because even though he hates me for it, his paws won't be cold in the snow and ice. Tip number 1 is the absolute minimum in my opinion. If your dog hates coats, hates booties, and just won't wear any winter gear, get this for their paws. It's called Musher's Secret. It just goes on their paws, in between their pads, all over, and prevents snow buildup and keeps their paws from getting cold. Before I used it on Copper, I thought, how is this jelly crap gonna keep his paws warm? Snow buildup and all that, sure, but warm? No way. I don't know how it works, but it works. So if you're traveling to cold temperatures with a pet, at a very minimum, you should have something like this. Along with, obviously, being a responsible pet parent, keep an eye on them. If they start to lift their paws, get them inside immediately. There we go. Those are my tips to survive harsh winters in van life. For you, for your adventure buddy, and your van. These are all tips that I learned firsthand over the last almost 4 years of full-time van life. Like I said, whether you're thinking about it, new to it, or want to travel to some frozen temps in van life, just be prepared for it. And these tips will help you do so. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see y'all next time. Oh, you hate it, don't you, boy?
Life is so hard.